Thank you. I was just wondering how much I should swear today. I'm going to try not to. I was in America for South by Southwest, and I was doing this presentation. I went, and it's fuck! Oh, you can't swear in America. But I'd kind of ruined it by that point. So I'm going to talk about the Great British Diversity Experiment this evening. Just so I know how much to explain what it is, can you put your hands up if you know what it is? Okay, I'm going to explain what it is. Just wanted to check before I did it. So, here's a picture of the creative leaders of our industry. Can anyone spot what the challenges with this picture may be? How many women are in this picture? No, I'm not in it. One? Did somebody say one? Yes? How many people? Well, there's one. There's Uno. There she is. How many people who are of a non-white origin are in this picture? It's none. There's like a little bit of like lighting going on there, but actually I can tell you now, it's none. So if these are the people who are deciding the creative output of the communications industry, I can guarantee that probably 95% of them went to a university. I can guarantee that 95% of them are probably between the ages of 38 to 45. There's a lot of fucking beards going on there, isn't there? Let's be honest. They are 99.9% male, and they are 100% white. Surely that suggests that their perspective on life might all come from broadly the same place. So if we're the creative industry, and to reflect what Ian said, Nick from Poke said, how is anyone going to get any competitive difference? Or actually, how is anyone going to reflect society as it really is if these are the people who are deciding our creative future? So it was this image which was the inspiration for the Great British Diversity Experiment. So this is what it aims to do. It seeks to prove that diversity leads to better experiences because you work with people you may not have worked with before, from different cultures or backgrounds that you may not have met before. Leads to better work because actually the work doesn't all come from the same people and from the same place, and ultimately it leads to a better world. So that's what the experiment was hoping to do. I'm hoping to now play a short film which explains it even better. Across the tech, creative and communication industries, we have a lack of diversity. We have the same people doing the same things, coming up with the same ideas.
We know we need different solutions for businesses to grow and to make the world a better place for us all.
We believe that diverse teams will lead to better ideas, better working practices, better experiences, and ultimately a better world.
So we're going to bring together people with different abilities from different races, different sexes, different age groups and different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Over 20 truly diverse teams will work together to creatively solve a problem. We will capture the experience and share our findings at South by Southwest.
We are going to prove that greater diversity can help solve some of society's biggest problems, and we're going to have fun doing it.
So that just gives you a little bit of a background. I'm one of 5 people who were part of the experiment, so you saw the other co-founders there. So what I want to do today is we've actually run the experiment and we've closed the experiment, and I want to share the findings with you. Now these are very much the top line findings. We're releasing the full report on the 25th of May, but I wanted to, they're quite interesting, and I think they demand a lot from the industry, so I wanted to just share those top line findings. So first of all, I just want to explain a little bit more about the experiment. The way it worked is we recruited 140 people. They all came to Google HQ on the 11th of January, and Eileen Norton from Google stood in front of everybody and said, this is the most diverse audience we've ever seen, because we actively tried to recruit a diverse set of individuals. They were given a brief to solve, which was this brief. It was from Tesco's. How do we solve food wastage? Food wastage has a huge impact on global warming, on literally everything. It's really bad. Stop wasting food. So it was, how do we solve food wastage within the home? But actually, that wasn't really the point. We were constructing this so that we could ethnographically observe the teams working together. Because what we worked out is that every day we're in, and looking at this audience, it really is evident, every day we're in a control group, because every day we're probably working in a team which most people went to university, are middle class, and are white. And at the junior level, a split 50-50 male-female. And when you get to a senior level, there's probably a few women who were a bit brave and decided to stay at work, and a lot of men. So we decided that everyday life was the control group, and that what these teams were going to go through was kind of what real diversity is about, and we were going to ethnographically study those. So we worked with the amazing research group Flamingo. I cannot recommend them enough. They're brilliant. Who did this all for free, and they worked with those teams and studied what it was like for people to work in a truly diverse environment. And we also had a winner. This is the team that won, by the way, and they were in South by Southwest with us because that was the prize for coming. So I just want to, can you just give them a round of applause because they were amazing. They were amazing. So what did the ethnographic study that Flamingo helped us with uncover? This didn't really come from the ethnographic work. It actually came from a huge awakening for me. So there was one conversation I had with somebody, and please forgive me for being slightly naive and ignorant, because I was also going on a journey, where I said to somebody, you know, it's just ridiculous, because like in London, like every team should be at least like 10 or 15% not white, because like London's 10 or 15% not white. And then someone went to me, it's 50% not white. And I went, it's 50% not white. And they went, yeah, look at the figure. So I did the research, I went online, and inner London is 52% non-white and 48% white. So when I saw that, I just went, why the fuck are we treating it like it's something nice that we should do? It's actually just civilization. Like, this is the real world we live in. So every time we sit in a company which is 95% white, we're sitting in a thing which is not actually reflective of the society we live in. That's just really weird and not okay. So diversity is the new normal. The country is 52% female, 48% male. If your management team aren't, then you're not reflecting society. London is 52% non-white and 48% white. If your team aren't reflecting that, it's not normal. The power of the gay pound, the power of the disability pound, they're all huge. And if you're not reflecting that, then your team is just abnormal. So I think everyone reframing in their head what is normality and what is not is a really important journey for us all to go through. It's the same in America. California now is 65% non-white. If you go to Birmingham, it's the same thing in Slough. 25% of children in primary school are not white. So starting to think that, hey, I'm just going to hire this guy that comes from like Hackney and he's not going to be white because that makes me a good person. No, that's not enough. That really isn't enough, because you're still not reflecting the society you're trying to market to. So we just need to reframe what we think about. And so now when I meet somebody and they're saying, yes, I really want to invest in diversity, and they're a 45-year-old white middle-class man, I go, you're the bloody minority, mate. You're the person who needs to think about that. But obviously we still also need middle-class white men as well, otherwise we're not diverse. So this is another thing that came through in the... sorry, does that sound a bit mean, what I've just said? Everyone's looking at me slightly shocked, but it's true. This is another thing that which came through. So for the food wastage problem that we gave the teams, in our team we had a guy from Albania who had grown up during communism, and there was rationing when he grew up. And we had a girl in the team who grew up in South Africa. And when she grew up in South Africa, she saw people every day who had no food. So when you said to them, solve the problem of food wastage, rather than looking at it like I do, I come from Hastings, you could say that I'm originally white trash, it's fine, I'm fine with that. But my attitude towards food is I never didn't have it. It was always available. There was never any problem with it. So food wastage, I think, yeah, that's something I should maybe not waste food. It's a bit crap. But when you're speaking to people who've seen people starve or have had rationing when they're growing up, they have a totally different attitude to why food wastage is a bad thing. So when you give them a business problem, they look at it from a totally different perspective. And that's when you get real, interesting solutions to a problem, because everyone's looking at it from a different angle. And that's why diversity is so important. This is another thing that was really interesting. I'm sure we've all been there. I've been there. You sit there, you have a brainstorm with your team, and after an hour, you've all come up with an idea, which is amazing. You've smashed it because you did it so fast. Well, actually, fast doesn't necessarily mean it's the right idea. It just means that cultural consensus has happened, because you all come from the same place. You all think the same things. You all watch that episode of Neighbours that you refer to. That's the spark off for the idea. So actually, the ideas come through cultural consensus rather than merit. And what we found through the diversity experiment is it was really, really difficult to get to a consensus, because everyone had such different opinions on what was the right answer, because they came from such different backgrounds and such different cultures. And actually, a really good creative process should be painful and should be messy, because you should be fighting over all the different perspectives and all the different attitudes you've got. So let's start not to think that a good creative process is a quick and easy one, but rather it should be a difficult and painful one, because you're making sure the best idea comes through rather than just what one homogeneous group believes. That's quite a hard word for me to say after 3 glasses of Prosecco. I'm just going to play a film. If the sound is too quiet, I'll skip it, but let's give it a go, which hopefully sums up some of those findings.
As you can see, I am not British, so I am used to be the diverse elements wherever I am here in the UK. So I'm actually interested in pinpointing the added value that me and other people that have different backgrounds can bring into the table.
I work in an all-white editorial team. I do feel like I have to rein aspects of my personality in at work, which I've never done in this room.
It's actually so refreshing to actually be with a group of people where you're not playing uppers and lowers.
So many times I've been in a room and I've said something maybe that might be considered cultural or something like an ethnic person would say, and I've watched it go in someone's ear, get watered down, and then become something else. It's important to think outside of yourself.
You feel like, okay, I can just be myself, because collectively we're all going to bring our own experiences, and then that will answer the diversity problem.
Kicked ass in finding good ideas.
The mashup principle I quite like, because I don't think I would have done it like this at all, because maybe I fall into a particular type of process, of way of working.
I think that's important to get us all understanding how other people approach problems.
Like realising how diverse everyone's opinions are, and when you go down one path, someone else throws in a curveball and sends you on another thinking route.
Everyone's kind of standing their ground and saying what they think is right. It's good because it means we get the full breadth of people's opinions on things, and we can kind of make the most informed decisions. Stuff that we've come up with, and the ideas and the insights we've had wouldn't have come about if we didn't have sort of the diversity that we do have in the room.
So that just kind of iterates some of the themes I've said. So what does this mean for you? Tokenism doesn't work, diversity does. This is really important. A lot of people said, I've often felt different. I've often felt like I'm the person who's representing X or representing Y, so they can't be themselves. And what everybody found on the diversity experiment is if everyone's different, then actually no one's different, because the whole thing just becomes a non-thing. So tokenism doesn't work, because then you're bringing someone in specifically because they are different and they can never relax and be themselves, which you saw a lot in that film. Whereas when everybody is different, then diversity really does work. This was really interesting. If you've got two things on this, one which I think is slightly complicated, but hopefully I'll give it enough justice. So if everyone comes from different cultures, then the European standard of what leadership is just doesn't work, because it doesn't resonate with everybody. So the European leadership style is, there is a man who is the boss and he will tell you what to do, and then you will go off and do it, and you'll be enlightened that he spread his wisdom to you. I'm sure we've all been in those meetings. And for some cultures that just doesn't work. They don't understand it, they can't compute, so they just become quiet. It also means if you have lots of different voices in the room, unless you give people the time and space to articulate them, you're not going to hear them. So it's also about having a kind of more mentoring style of leadership so that different people can say their opinion. And it's about helping people get to a decision rather than deciding what the decision is before everyone's spoken. So it's a different style of leadership. And I spoke a little bit about this already. It's about embracing messiness. When I presented this at South by Southwest, these two girls came up and spoke to me, and they were both chemical engineers, and they said, we're chemical engineers, and our team that we're on in our university is incredibly diverse, like so diverse as people from every single continent, every single country, and we're all trying to work together. And I was like, okay. And they went, how do you stop everyone from arguing all the time? And that was really interesting. And there was a woman also at South by Harvard who talked about this. Diversity is difficult because you don't have any cultural consensus. You don't have any cultural norms that everyone can refer to, because everyone grew up in a different place or with a different background or a different perspective. So you don't get to those easy resolutions. It is much messier, which is why having leaders who can help you find that solution, and which is why not seeing that as a problem, realising that messiness is actually a really positive thing, is so critical. So what could we do? Like, what could we really, really do to change things? This is something which I think is really important. So as well as looking at your own companies that you work with and challenging them to be diverse and just letting them know, if you're based in central London, this is what we should be looking like. But it's also everybody that you work with, because it's by putting pressure on everybody else. So Beam are putting pressure on all their partners to hit some sort of statistics around diversity, that people will start to listen, because it's a business critical thing. It's been proven so many times to make business better, and it's also just a social thing, because how can we learn about each other if all the same people are always working together all the time? So putting pressure. And then this one is very pertinent to today, which is challenge yourself to look for different places to hire people, such as what Future London is doing, such as what Hackney is doing, such as what Beamer is doing, such as what we're all doing. So challenge people. So I often have conversations when people go, okay, well, I couldn't hire somebody who wasn't from university because like none of those applicants came up. Well, just go to a different recruitment company or ask that recruitment company to try a bit harder. And when you see a shortlist, say to them, this shortlist has to be X, Y, Z. It can't just be this. Because by challenging them to do that and threatening the pound that they earn, you'll get it. Won't they, Jonathan? Yes, yes. So ultimately, we had 20 teams of strangers on the Great British Diversity Experiment when we asked them to solve a business problem. And it was a business problem that some of the leading agencies in the country and one of the leading businesses in the country just couldn't do. And we came up with a solution that they're buying, and that's going live. So if you could do that with a bunch of strangers because they come up with things in a different way and have different perspectives, then I think it just shows how business can be made more successful. That was the highlights. The final report launches on May 25th. I'll be sending out invites to that launch event. Jonathan will be very much involved. Ian will be very much involved. Beam will be very much involved. So please do come along to it. And #DiversityWorks. That's it from me. Thank you very much.